So, my friend, I want to ask you, have you been listening to some of my podcasts for a while and identified for yourself all the areas that you feel your business could be better in? Maybe you just are so busy you haven't yet mastered the working as much as you like bit. Or maybe you're just not bringing in the money, like you're struggling with the income, or it's just not enough. Well, it's time for us to have a conversation. In the show notes, there is a link to my evolution call. If you're a dance boss and you are ready to take action, let's have a chat and let's see where I can take you. Hello and welcome, lovelies, to the Ultimate Dance Business Podcast. My name is Deborah Laws, the dance business expert. My passion is to help you turn your passion into profit while guiding you to work less and earn more. I'm super excited to share interviews with you that I know will inspire and motivate you in your schools, as well as my solo shows where I shall be sharing some great tips and strategies. So if you love the show, please do remember to review, subscribe, and share it with your fellow dance boss friends. So let's get stuck into the business of dance. Hey everybody, today I have a bit of a treat in store for you. I say a treat in store. For some of you, this wonderful guest today might be your frog. This might be an area for you where it makes you feel a bit squirmy and you're kind of pulling faces listening to this while doing your ironing, because today we're going to talk about finances and figures. So I'd love to introduce the fabulous Kirsty Carr. Hello, Kirsty.
Hi, Deb. How are you doing?
Really good. And I'm really excited about this because I have to admit, this is a bit of a frog for me. I've admitted this openly to the world before, and was when I ran my dance schools as well. So just before I ask you a little bit about yourself and what you do, just to kind of set this up, I don't know if any of you listening are the type of dance school owner where the money comes into your account, you pay your bills, you kind of don't really look at that account too much because it's a bit scary to see what's going on with our money. At the end of the term, if there's a bit left over and you think off the top of your head that most things are paid, you take a bit out for yourself and you never really know what is yours, what isn't yours, how much you can take, how much you can't take. And then come to pay your tax bill and realize that, oh, maybe you should have put a bit more away. And so then you're scrambling around trying to find money to pay your tax bill. Like, Kirsty, this is our world.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I say this is our world. That's a bit mean to those people that are all over them numbers and figures. And of course there are some people, but so I'm just generalizing. I don't know, maybe I'm just talking about myself. Kirsty, I know you come across this a lot with small business owners. Before we start talking all about that, please tell everyone why you are the queen of finances and figures and what you do and a little bit about your background.
Okay. Well, I'm going to preface it with I'm not an accountant. So before people think I'm giving you accounting advice, this is nothing to do with accountancy. This is all to do with having the cost control in your business. It's all to do with you using the data that's available to you in your numbers, in your structure, in your bills and your costs, and working that out to say, okay, well, I deserve to pay myself this. This bit needs to go to the government. This bit I want to reinvest. Here's a little bit for some marketing spend. There's about being able to go, okay, I've got pots of money to do everything that I need to do. And most importantly, my pot of money sits at the top because I'm the business owner, right? So I need to make a living out of this business. If we were in it for the charity and all the altruistic reasons, you'd be running a CIC. So one thing is, it's okay for you as a business owner to say, I want some money out of this business. I want it to be profitable. I want to use that so that I can go on and do other things with that. And those things have their own ripple effect outside of what you're doing. That's why I'm super passionate about people who have, one, taken the absolute gamble, because it is a gamble, of setting up a business. I want you to be in love with your business, in love with the numbers, so that you stay in that business for such a long time. You put all that effort and energy into doing something that you love. And I think the key thing is to remember, as a business owner, you didn't go into the business that you do because you love structure and strategy and numbers. Didn't do that. You went into the business because you've got a passion about something that you're an expert in and you want to share that with other people. So it's totally okay if you don't feel comfortable with the numbers, but it's totally un-okay as a responsible business owner not to have a handle on them and know what they are and know how to use them.
Yeah,
so that's it in a nutshell.
That's it in a nutshell. And we're already kind of feeling guilty that we don't do this, or feeling inspired that we should start doing this. So, Kirsty, what's your background and what is it that you do in particular in your business?
So my background is procurement. So for want of a better word, I buy stuff, or I bought stuff for a living. And mainly in my career, it was professional services. So it's called indirect spend. So indirect spend, and you will have this in your own business, is anything that you need in your business that the client doesn't see. So your gas, your electric, your overheads, your premises, marketing. That is irrelevant to the client. That's not in the service that they're getting or the product that they're getting. So I have dealt with, it's contracting, it's the supply chain, who's in the ecosystem, who can give us the best value at the right time, at the right cost. How do we make this a partnership? Where do we get longevity? Where can we look at cost savings? How does that impact the business? And procurement is one of those functions. In actual fact, it's one of the only functions in a business that has an end-to-end view of the business. So we're there from the inception of an idea, a service, a concept, a product, and we're there when it goes out the door because we have a touch point across that whole supply chain. So effectively, I am doing exactly the same thing now in my own business by helping small business owners. And when I use the word small, that is up to 10 million turnover. I think the government's got some really strange descriptions of what's small, medium, large, and I think they throw people. So we're not talking about one man in his van. We're talking about businesses that can be up to 10 million. I go into their business and do exactly the same. So I have a look at what is their as is? Where are they today? What do their costs look like? What are their future plans? What's their mission, vision, and values? Is there a gold thread linking all those things together, or is it really fragmented and left hand of the business doesn't speak to right hand of the business? How is the business owner feeling at the heart of that business? Do they feel in control? Are they not in control? What do they want to do? How do they want to grow? How do they want to scale? And because I'm not in that day to day, because I have a very logical brain in terms of structure, it's easier for me as an external person to go in and say, okay, let me map out what that looks like and let me show you where there are some potential risks, some brilliant opportunities, or some gaps in your learning for you to hit that 5, 10, 15-year plan that you've got. So I take all of that strategy and structure, but I make it work in a way where ultimately you come out at the end of that with the freedom and flexibility that realistically, if we're all honest, we go into running our own business for.
Wow. Folks, I think we all need a Kirsty, don't we, in our business? 100%. I listen to Kirsty speak and I feel myself get so excited inside. I'm like, oh, I need this. I want this. I want this understanding. I want to have this. I don't know. Do you feel like it gives people more sense of control over their business?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you don't want to be feeling overwhelmed in the sense that you get to the end of the week and you think, yeah, great. So my customers are happy, but I am flapping about in the wind. I don't know when my vet bill's due. I don't know when my next tax pot. I don't know when I need to fill that up. Or I've got a cost that's come in that I wasn't accounting for and I've got no contingency. Or actually, my business is growing. I'm going to need, for dance schools, I'm going to need a new premises, or I'm perhaps going to need to have an extra studio. How am I going to do that? What does that look like? How long am I tied into a rental agreement? How much have I got to pay up front? How does that affect my business rates? There's all these questions that go on. But just having a little bit of structure and some processes, which is nothing more than a fancy way of saying, let's just have a checklist of what we need to go through when we are doing A, B, or C activity. It puts you back in the driver's seat. You're in control and you're making decisions based on fact rather than feeling, which as a business owner is super, super important.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just yesterday, I spoke to a potential client and I was chatting to her. And there's a few questions I ask right at the start of these, I call them evolution calls. And I said to her, so do you pay yourself a wage, a monthly wage? And she said, sometimes not, just sort of depends. I said, okay, so have you got any idea what that wage might look like? She thought for ages and she said, no. I said, okay, have you got any idea last year, roughly how much you might have taken out of the business altogether? Just a guess, just a rough estimate. No, absolutely none. I was like, okay, all right. Well, okay, let's move on. Let's talk about student numbers. How many students have you currently got? Oh gosh, couldn't really tell you. And as the conversation went on, it was really clear that she had
Yeah.
zero awareness of what was going on in her own school. So when we got to the end of the chat and we were talking about how I could help her and what that might look like, what the pricing point was, I said, does this sound affordable for you? Is it something you want to move forward with? She couldn't give me any kind of answer as to whether she wanted to sign up or not, because she had no idea if she could afford it.
Yeah.
So she was like, I don't really know if I need to go away and think about it. And of course, those people then go away and have a think. They still don't know because they can't work out if they can afford it. Therefore, it feels scary and therefore they don't do it. And that's a really good example of what you're talking about, isn't it? Because she should know.
100%.
Yeah, she should know. Can I afford £100 a month? Can I afford £200 a month? Which of Deborah's programs can I manage? Can I not manage them now, but I could in X number of months' time? So that's a good example, isn't it?
It's a really good example. And this is where I'm all for having passion in what you do. And I love that. And I would never ask anybody to put down any of their passion. But you also have to have a level of practicality as well. They just can't. And if you can't do it yourself, this is where I say to people, if you don't want to do that in your business, that's absolutely fine. But then go and seek the help of people that love all of that and can do that and will help you, so that when you think about, I want to invest in myself as a dance business owner, I'm going to speak to Deb about what she's got available that will help me move the dial on my dance business, because that's the arena that I'm in. So I want that because that's the practical help for the service that I provide. But actually, the businessy business side of things, I'm going to have somebody else that runs through that and can just tell me where I am. And I've got confidence in them because they've been through my books, they've been through my business. They can tell me, I could just text them and they'll go, yeah, you've got 150 clients, you've got your cost of acquisition for a client is this, your marketing budget is this is what you've got left. That clarity and confidence of somebody able to pull that out the air. It's like you said, the planning, she could go, next quarter, if I just do this and this here, I would have the money for that. So then I would invest in that because it's of no detriment to the rest of my activity. And it's that longevity of thinking. It's that proactivity of thinking. What we don't want is business owners permanently in a reactive state, because like you say, they're going to have analysis paralysis because they don't have the data to make a decision. They're going to feel so overwhelmed. They just stay where they are because it feels safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay, but that isn't going to get you to your 5-year plan or your growth plan or your holiday in Barbados or your brand new Range Rover or whatever it is that is in your plan. It just isn't going to get you there.
Yeah. And talking of planning, you very kindly came in and actually did a guest speaking slot in my membership, one of my memberships a couple of months ago, maybe just last month. And some of the things that you were teaching us was very specifically around goal setting and planning. Yeah. Without spending a long time teaching that, how could you kind of summarize what it was that you were explaining to us about how we can goal set for the future?
So goal setting for the future is, if we look at it simplistically, so, if you're married or have a family or have a partner or whatever that looks like, I would guarantee that once or twice a year, you'll get some nice food together. You might have a glass of wine or a cup of tea. If you may, it'd be a cup of tea. And you'll sit and say, right, what have we got going on in our lives in the next 12, 18 months? What do we need to do? Like, where do we want to go on holiday? How much is that going to cost me? Or actually, I'd like to learn to speak, I don't know, as I'm doing Korean. I'd like to do a college course. I think I would like to go away with the girls. Oh, we've got a huge birthday coming up. Like, oh, there's a 60th birthday. We've got a 25th wedding anniversary. We do that naturally in our private and personal lives because we want to plan the time and the money around doing that. It's exactly the same process. So it's about, what do I have going on in my personal life that if I own a business, that, I have to have an income from the business to help me support this. Okay, let's plug those numbers into the business and say, this is what my personal costs are. This is what the business is bringing in. This is what I need. But that can only be driven by you knowing what the end point is. So it's fine to have some goals. It's absolutely brilliant to have something to work towards, because again, it gives you an end point. You can't possibly move forward, plan, if you don't know what the end point is. And you don't have to do it in a really structured way. Here's the goal and I'm at 50% of that. It can be really loose goals, but at least have the intention of setting a goal and then reverse engineering what your steps are going to be to get to that goal. It's really, really important. Absolutely, as a business owner.
And I love the reverse engineering bit. So say, for example, someone decides that they want to earn themselves another £1,500 a month, which generally in our industry works out at about 75 new students. Okay. So they've got that goal. They want £1,500 a month. That's 75 new students. How do we reverse engineer that? Not around how do we do our marketing, but in terms of the numbers and figures.
So 75 new students. So you would have a look at, so if £1,500 is equivalent to 75 new students, it would be, firstly, I would be looking at the students that I've got in terms of, are there other classes that they may want to do that they're not doing now that would generate an additional income? Where would I get these 75 people from? Have I got capacity for another 75 people in terms of practically, do I have the teachers in place to run a class or classes for another 75 people? Have I got the studio space? So it doesn't just become I need £1,500. It's, have I got everything in place to then fulfill that service that I am promising those 75 students to get that £1,500 in?
Yeah.
And it might be, this is where you reverse engineer and say, actually, I don't think that's viable in 4 weeks. I need to give myself 12 weeks because I might need to bring on board a new teacher, one, because then that £1,500 becomes £3,000 because you're going to have to pay a salary. So can you see, it's the gold thread of there's never one isolated decision. Yeah. You may have a goal and a target, but you then have to work backwards. What do I need to fulfill? So numbers wise, it's all about bottom line. So that £1,500, if you want to take that £1,500, realistically, it's not £1,500 because you need to add on 30% for tax that you're going to pay either personally or corporation tax. So that £1,500 then becomes £1,950. So then it's not 75 students, it could be 85 students. So it's about understanding that. It's not just £1,500. It's not just 75 students. It's not just one extra class. What does that actually look like?
Yeah. And if it is another class and another teachers, then we've got to take those costs. We've got
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, one of the things I loved that you showed us, and you showed us all on a spreadsheet, was having like a list, and please forgive me and correct me if I'm remembering this wrong, but we had a list of like all the different things that we do in our business that creates income. So that for us is things like our classes, our summer schools, workshops, merchandise, trips, private lessons, whatever the things are that generate income. And you got us to work out how many of those things do we currently do. Yes. And then it was, if I'm right in remembering, when we were looking at our goals, the deconstruct it back bit was, so how many more of this thing could I do? Yeah. Yeah.
So I always work very much in as is to be. That's how my mind works. So you would have a product suite. So we would call it product suite. For you, it would be your services. You would list them all down. You would list what you're selling today at what price point, and that would give you what your revenue is against those. That's called a forecast. Then you would do your actuals. You'd have a sheet that says every month I'll track where I actually am. But before you even do any of that, you sit and go, okay, what's my good, better, or best financial target look like this year? So let's say it's 100 grand, it's 150 grand, it's 200 grand. The tool that I built allows you to put all of those in, and it says to you, okay, you can plug in where you are today, but actually, if you want to hit this good, better, or best, that mix of products will have to look significantly different. And it gives you the opportunity to play with these and say, okay, well, if I did have 100 students in this class, and if I did have this, and I did sell more merchandise, and I did have more than one summer school, perhaps I don't know, I have an Easter and a winter school as well. What would that get me to? And then you can start to see, okay, where's the gap in that? I either need to diversify and have more products that are giving me a recurring revenue that perhaps don't have a touch point. So I'd need to look at my merchandise, or what else could I broaden out there? Or what physically am I not providing now in terms of classes that I could add into that? And it helps you really think about, okay, I love doing this. I want to do more of that. That will affect my good, better, or best by this. I don't really enjoy this. And actually, I'd rather let it go. So what do I need then to plug the gap of letting that go? So if I'm losing 20 grand there, but I lose sleep every night because I really hate doing it, it's not a service I provide, how am I going to get that 20 grand back? Let's have a look at what I've got. That would mean I need to do 25% more of this, or this, or I need to bring in a new revenue stream. So it's all, I'm going to bang the drum about this, it's all about the data giving you the detail for you to make a decision.
Oh, I love this.
It's the treble D. It's data, detail, decision.
And then I'm going to add a D if I'm allowed.
Add a D.
I'm going to add a D, everyone, so that you can create your dream.
Absolutely.
All those 3 Ds equal the dream business, because I think you just, said, kind of hit the nail on the head. Get it right, Deborah. In terms of, sometimes we do things in our business that we don't really love. So in my industry, it might be like, you've fallen into becoming a competition school and you never really wanted to do competitions, and that doesn't fill you with joy, or you do quite enjoy it, but it takes up a huge amount of your personal family time at weekends. So what Kirsty's saying is, when you've got your, a really good grip on these figures, you could look at that and say, right, how much does that actually generate in income? And actually, as a little sideline, probably next to nothing, which makes it even more crazy that we're giving up our weekends for nothing. But, even if it does generate you a fairly decent income, if it's something that you don't want to do, what are the other things I need to improve on or create new things in order for me to be able to remove that? And I think when you do that, you're able to do this kind of balancing act where you can drop a little bit of this and add a bit more of that, and drop a little bit of this and add a bit more of that. And very slowly you find that actually I've replaced that income. I'm no longer doing the thing I didn't love. It might be a class you teach or something that the school is involved in. I've managed to get rid of that thing, but I'm still earning the same money. Now, I would love to invite you to the Dance Business Conference, which is held in Birmingham in the UK. This is a wonderful 2-day event where you are going to listen to some incredible keynote speakers. You're going to do some workshopping. You're going to learn lots of new things around running your dance school. You're going to meet lots of exhibitors that have businesses that could be great for you to work with. But more importantly, we're going to make friends, we're going to have fun, and we're going to hang out together, all learning how to be inspired and motivated to run a better school. And of course, we also have the Gala Dinner Dance, which is the red carpet event of the year for dance school owners, where we present the Dance Business Awards. So if you would like to exhibit or sponsor the conference, if you would like to attend or enter the Dance Business Awards, then please go to www.dancebusinesssolutions.com, where you can buy your tickets, find out more information, and hopefully come join me on the 8th and 9th of August. See you there.
It's exactly that. If you think of your business as like, I don't know, we'll call it a lemon drizzle cake, whatever.
Oh, yes, that's my favorite lemon drizzle cake.
Good, and mine. It's a recipe. Your business is a recipe. I use a lot of analogies, but your business is a recipe. So it's exactly that. A bit of this, a bit of that. Take that out because that's not quite to my taste or flavour palette. I want a bit more of this. I want it heavy on the lemon. I want it less on the sugar. It's a recipe, and you're in control of your business. You get to decide 100% what that looks like. And that includes the products and services that you're putting out there. It includes the price point at which you're putting those products and services out there. And It includes the profit of which you can then take for that business as your reward for putting your talents and services out there into the world. This is in business. I really feel this strongly. This is your opportunity to say, I am front and center of my world in this business, because realistically, as a personal brand or a solopreneur or a single-led business, your heart and soul is in that business. If you are not happy, I guarantee that will seep out into your business. It will seep out into the people that you're working with. It will seep out into the people that you're providing the service to. That is not a good look. It's not what you want. It's very emotionally draining. You want to be in a business where you're having fun, you're financially winning, and you feel that you are giving the very best version of yourself and your service to those people around you. That will only come when you put yourself firmly in control of that business and you say, I'm doing this. I'm going to use the tools. I'm going to use the people. I'm going to lean on my network. I'm going to invest in me. And that's totally okay to do. And I think, is it fair to say that majority of your members would be female as well, Deb?
I think 96%, if we're precise, yes.
So I'm generalizing, but I'm going to make this statement because I feel very passionately about this as well. As women, we generally don't invest in ourselves first. We'll invest in everybody else around us to make sure that everybody else is fed, watered, got nutrition, and is feeling absolutely fantastic, and they can be the best version of themselves. And we leave ourselves behind. If you continue to do the same pattern in your business will get left behind, because other people who are willing to invest in themselves, invest a little bit financially, put that extra work into getting control, will start to overtake you, because they'll be noticing the gaps. They'll be bringing things to the market quicker. They'll be changing and flexing where it's needed, because they've got that data. They've got that data. They've got the detail. They're making the decisions. And it's all informed and it's all feeling really good, and they're seeing everything positively.
Yeah, I really resonate with what you're saying there. And I think also, thinking back to the doing things in your business that you might not necessarily love, I think the other thing is, if we're trying to or attempting to, for example, teach classes that we don't feel is our strength, or we're trying to deliver a certain aspect, for example, holiday camps or trips to London or trips to Disney or whatever the things are that we're doing that we don't feel that we're that great at, what we tend to do is then undercharge, because we don't feel we're good enough anyway to do that thing. And then, of course, you're putting yourself down because you're not charging what you should be. So then you're probably not earning what you should be either. So I think, it's really interesting that we've gone from talking about money and figures to designing our dream business, but it is really all interlinked, isn't it?
You will not get a dream business if you do not sort the structure and the numbers out. Like, I hate to break it to you, but the reality is, your business, I'm not saying that your business won't operate and it won't be successful, but it won't hit the heights that you know that you're capable of achieving if you're going to stay in the safe zone and do things in the way that you've always done them. That isn't how continuous improvement or progress happens in the world, or innovation or anything like that. I mean, if we bring it back to the numbers, what you've just said there, when you have a price per student for a class, you need again to, okay, that's the price for the class, but does it include my overheads for people, for staff? Does it include my 27% for tax? Does it include the salary percentage that I want to pay myself, that splitting out across all the students that I've got? Does it account for any overheads? Does it account for the gas and electric that needs to be in the studio for them to come and do the dance comfortably? If we're not then looking at our cost to run the business and making sure that they are reflected in the cost of that class, who's mopping up the costs? You are. It's coming out of your profit bucket. And that, again, is not a good business model. All of your outgoing costs need to accommodate for that, because that's the whole, it is cost to run the business minus any tax or expenses equals profit. If you're not having an eye to what that profit is that you want to look at, and you don't know what your costs are, how on earth do you know whether you are out at the right price, set at the right price? if your market, don't do that thing where you look at the dance studio 2 miles down the road and say, well, they're doing theirs at such and such. They may have a completely different cost basis to you. They may have a completely different cost model. They may have a completely different dream for their business. They may be happy with 20 students on a Saturday morning. You don't know what's going underneath. You need to stay in your own lane and base your costs purely on your business.
And I'd also like to add, and they might not have any clue about what they should be charging either.
Absolutely. That's probably should have been at the top. But yes, absolutely. Because we get a sense of, oh, well, £15 for a class feels about okay. I'm not really into the feeling when it comes to numbers. I'm into cold, hard facts when it comes to numbers. Of that £15, what's going to the business? What's going to the taxman? What's coming to me?
Yeah. And I love that, actually, working out. And this is something that everybody could do, even if it's just a little starting point, isn't it? Work out what all the costs are in running a single class, and then work out how many students do I need, not to break even. Breaking even means you're still running a charity. Breaking even means you're still working for free, and nobody wants to go out and work for free. So what are all your minimum costs that you need to bring in terms of your wage and all the other costs? And then divide that by the number of students. If you've already got your pricing point, then you know what the minimum number is you have to have in a class. So for example, say that's 6 students. You know, the minute you drop below 6, you're working for free and you could stay at home with the kids.
Exactly.
Likewise, you know that if you get to 3 or 4, it's now costing you money to go out to work. And so even just having that basic awareness, and I tell you what most people do, put my hands up, old Deborah used to do the same. I'd say, how much does the venue cost me? And how many, and if I had a teacher that did the class, how much does the teacher cost me? And that's how I worked out the minimum numbers. But like you've just said, there are so many other overheads that we have to consider, all our other overheads, our subscriptions, our petrol getting to the classes, our child minding, our stationery, our telephones, all these things. Actually, we need to work out what the real cost is.
Yeah.
And then, like you said already before, then we can make real decisions, can't we? Can I keep that class on the timetable? If I do choose to keep that class on the timetable, I have to be aware that I'm working for nothing or working for less than nothing. Kirsty, one of the things I hear a lot from my principals is that they might have some classes that are doing really well. They've got 20 in a class, break even is like 5. There's lots and lots of profit in that class and it's great. Yeah. But then they've got quite a few. Maybe they've got one great class, but 2 or 3 that are really underperforming. And what I hear people say is, but that's okay, because a few of my other classes are doing well, and that balances it all out.
No.
What do we do about that?
So in a bigger business, so we'll liken this to products. So you've got product A, B, C, and D. Let's keep it really simple. Product A is doing really well. It's flying off the shelf, huge profit in there. Consumers love it. Brilliant. We've got great take-ups. It's got incremental usage and sales across. B, middle of the road. It's okay. It could be doing better. We don't seem to have the same traction on the market. C is just a seasonal thing. It's only out there it's more of a gimmicky product. It's out there for a short period in time. It's used possibly to generate new interest into that business or the main portfolio of products. And D is something that we've had for ages. We just haven't got around to getting rid of it. It's a lost leader. We're taking a hit on it going out the door. It's costing us in manufacturing. And actually, we just haven't bothered to take the time to go, do we still need this now? As a responsible business owner, your teams, your sales teams will be looking across the board and saying, but that one's really performing and that one isn't. It's the same conversation. That's still costing us money to manufacture, put in a truck, send it out on a pallet, get it in a store, get it sold, pay for the licensing that tells us how much of it that we're selling out the door. It very quickly goes because it's adding no value whatsoever. It's not a nice to have. It's not we've made it for 10 years, so we'll keep making it. If the market isn't there, the take up isn't there, The clients aren't there, the students aren't there. It comes back to it. You've either got to go into those students and their parents and ask them, what do they like about the class? What isn't working for the class? Why do we think we're not getting more people in there? And go to people that aren't in the class and ask them why they're not interested in the class. Doing that classic bit of market research about your product. Is it still hitting the mark? Am I giving my clients exactly what they want? Or am I just putting things on because I think, as the owner of this business, that's exactly what should be out there? Ego needs to step aside there, and you need to go back to your clients and say, do all the classes work? Are there things that you don't come to, your kids don't come to because they don't like it? Is there an issue with the way it's taught? Is there an issue with the time that it's on? Is there an issue with who's teaching it? And some of these will be difficult questions, right? And you will feel uncomfortable asking them, and that's totally normal. But without understanding why it's not performing, you're never going to make, again, a decision that's based on information. You've got to go and ask those questions. That product, that D product, everyone's gone, it isn't working. We don't need a loss leader because actually these are doing fine. So we're just going to use the money that we're spending on still marketing this or getting it out to store. We're going to reinvest in here, do more of this, or bring another B product on and grow that to the same popularity as product A. Yeah. But you've got to be brave to go and ask the questions. If something isn't performing in your business, I guarantee in any corporate structure, somebody will be asking you some uncomfortable questions about, hey, what's going on here? Let's have a chat. Let's have a look under the bonnet. Let's see what's really going on. Are there things we're missing? Is it something in the market? Is something happened with our client base? Has there been some bad PR about us? Is there an environmental factor? These are all the things that big businesses would lean into and have a look at. You can absolutely do that as a small business owner, just on a much smaller scale, but you still need to go and ask the question.
Yeah, that's so good. And the thing is, we are the person that at the top of our corporate business. Yeah. There's no one asking us ask those questions. So it's really easy to just bury our head in the sand, especially if you really like the 4 students that are in that class. They're really sweet and they're really lovely and they love you. And, the problem I think that we have so much as dance school principals is that, there's so much emotion. There's so much heart. We love our students. The thought of cancelling a class or stopping a class that we know somebody absolutely loves is, breaks our heart. So we just keep it going, to our own detriment. And I think, to put this into context for the people listening today is, I know that there are sometimes classes that kind of sit on the peripheral of our product suite, our program suite. In other words, there are additional things that maybe you added on. And I don't know, maybe you're a traditional dance school that teaches ballet, modern, tap, and you decided to try acro, or you decided to try contemporary, or you decided to add in musical theatre. They're not part of your kind of core suite. And they just didn't really take off. They haven't kind of really gone anywhere. It's quite okay to kind of call it quits on those classes.
Absolutely.
I think where the difficulty comes in is when it's part of your core program. And I don't expect you to necessarily know this, Kirsty, but very often, we have kids that start when they're tinies and they have like a grading system that goes all the way up until they're kind of 18, 19, and they might leave and go off to full-time training. When there's a hole in that ladder, if you like. So, for example, grade 1 to grade 5, we don't want to end up with no grade 3 class, because when we get people that inquire and they need to be in grade 3, we don't have that class. Or when we have a couple of grade 2s that need to move up, there's no class for them to go into. It's like the core of our foundations of our school. So I appreciate that, we could trim some of the classes on the outside of our program suite. But the really important ones, I think, if we need to make a decision, do I really need to let this class go, or do I need to get my finger out and market that class?
Absolutely.
And I know that's what you're sitting there waiting for me to get to the crunch point.
Absolutely. Exactly that. So I would say if it is a core product and it's part of your core values, your core service, absolutely, they're not ones to chop, because as you've just said, your new prospective tiny dancers, they're going to want that because they're expecting a path, or their parents are expecting a path. If they might do it, they might just do grade 1 to 5 or whatever, and then it becomes a hobby and a keep fit fit thing, or the people that are really serious about it and they know that they want a career as a dancer, they don't want that gap. So for you then, as a responsible business owner who's completely proactive, who understands all the numbers in a business, who understands how to give the services required, but also make sure that you keep the profit that you need in your business, you're then going to go into that and say, okay, what are the, I don't know, top 3 things I could do to get a grade 3 class in there? Okay. Have I got a teacher that can teach grade 3? I don't know much, so just bear with me. Have I got a teacher that does grade 1s to 5, or are they different teachers? Has that teacher got capacity to put another class on? Where am I going with my marketing? Who am I talking to? Am I doing taster sessions for tiny dancers? Can they come in and have a go? Have I got flyers going out? Have I got things in all the local schools? Am I going to the nurseries and putting, a little production on for them? How am I letting my community know that we're here? We've got these classes. We can cover all the grades. We do exciting stuff. We've got lots of tiny dancers in there already, and we'd love you to come and join us. Most importantly, have you put a budget aside to help you grow that class so that you can get people in, so that you can give a full service, so that you can still make money? Again, it's the gold thread. It's never an isolated decision. But you have to go out there and say, okay, what have I got right now? What assets have I got that I could sweat? So sweating the assets is a huge marketing term. What have I already got that I can sweat? How can I get my current students to help me spread the word outside? How can I use my community? Dance schools are like, I have nieces that have been through dance school and they range from 6 to 28. So they've been across a number of years. They're a massive part of the community. I've been to hundreds of dance shows. The parents and the aunties and the whoever love it. There's a dance show on. You get to see all your kids all in their outfits looking absolutely cute as, right up to the really, professional, fully trained, been at it for 15 years dancers, and you get to see all of that. And it's the enjoyment of that. So when you do a show, are you videoing it? Are you taking stills? Are you using that on social media? Have you got a website? Do you have your role on there that shows people what to expect when they come to you? Things like marketing is what's going to drive your business forward, and you are going to have to do some of it. Now, you get to decide where that is, and you get to decide the mechanism. But the key thing is you have to do something. Unfortunately, again, I hate to break it to you, nobody's just going to come up to you and go, well, I'd love to be in your class, unless that person specifically has a child that's like, I want to dance, mummy, or my friend goes to dancing and I want to go to dancing and be with her. Business isn't like that these days. We have to go out there and get it. And again, part of that comes from, have I got a pot of money? Have I got a plan? When do I need this grade 3 class to be in by? What's the longest amount of time that I can run without having a grade 3 class? And what are the first few things that I need to do? And again, it's a mini plan. It's just having a mini plan to go, right, we're going to plug that gap now, and we're going to do these things to plug that gap, and it's going to take us this amount of money. But actually, if we get a grade 3 class with 10 people in, we're going to have a revenue of this, and it's going to be above break even, and we're then going to have the full suite. Yeah. So it's always a full conversation, and that in itself might sound overwhelming, but I would say tackle it step by step.
Yeah. The full picture and having a plan. And you know what? I think planning is massively underestimated. We do so much just winging it in our industry. Not just
your industry.
Well, I know. But I think just sitting down on a Monday morning or a Sunday night and planning your week in terms of not just getting up every day and tackling the to-do list, but getting up every day and saying, right, I'll do my to-do list for 2 hours, and then I'm going to spend half an hour looking at my figures, or I'm going to spend half an hour on marketing for that class that's not doing so great. Yeah. Like just planning that out for the week, little blocks of time, which kind of gets us onto different subjects. So we won't go too much into that now. But yeah, I think I think some of our listeners might love it, Kirsty, just as we start to wind this up. Have you got any tips for someone that really is in the kind of hopeless bracket at the moment? I say that with love, in terms of they're not doing anything. Where could they start? What's the most basic thing? What's the top most basic thing that they could do that would have an impact, that's easy, that somebody could do as soon as they finish listening to this podcast?
So go and grab your phone or your laptop, pull your business bank account up and write down everything that's going out of your business bank account. Every subscription, I don't know. So for me, it would be business insurance, it would be Canva, it would be Zoom, it would be, what else? All my email inbox, my website costs. Then it would be things like my registered office, my accountant fees. Literally go through a bank statement or your banking app and write everything down. Visually show yourself in one page what's going out of your business in any month, because that's the start of you being fully aware of what your costs are. So that could be your task this week. Next week, you could go, okay, now I'm going to go back into the business and see how much I've physically taken out for me. How much have I paid myself over a 12-month period? Okay, so then you're going to have two sets of numbers. You've got what your business has cost and what you've taken out. And then you'll have a third set of numbers, which you can do another time. Well, what are my personal things? So if these are all my personal costs, and I've only paid myself that already on this side of this side, for me, I'm at a deficit. I don't have enough money coming in to pay my personal bills. Okay, so something needs to change there. I need to take more money out. You can look at your costs. If you have no profit, and there isn't nothing for you to take, that's when you go back into this and say, okay, what in here can I reassess? So we're all good at putting things in place and just letting them auto renew. Never looking if we need them, never looking at if the cost has gone up, never looking at if they're actually driving anything in our business. So then you can go into that data and go, I don't need that subscription. I don't need that. I'm no longer in there. I'm cancelling that. So you've now got £100 a month that you've saved. I would be saying that goes into a pot now and you put it in your profit pot because you're not spending it here. You can take it out. You don't need it. And it's starting to say to you, if there's no profit here, I need to do something here. Once I've trimmed here, if there's still no profit and not enough for me to satisfy my personal column, I have to look at my outgoing costs. Am I charging the right thing into the market? Have I got enough things on? So I would say, write down all your costs, give your brain a break, then write down what you've taken, then write down what you actually need. And that alone will give you a starting point.
That's a really great starting point because that feels quite easy. I feel like everybody could just go and do that as soon as they finish listening. The one set of figures this week, another set of figures the following week, like just those 3 steps alone is just a fabulous starting point. And even if that's the only thing you ever do, it's better than if you're not doing anything at all. Like it's starting to build that awareness, and maybe that will start to inspire you to go a little bit further and look at a few more figures and start to get your head on, maybe even have a spreadsheet.
Yes, for the spreadsheet.
I say that because I'm a spreadsheet phobic. I think I have a phobia about spreadsheets. If it doesn't look pretty and it's not made in Canva, I just don't want to know. But I'm determined to fall in love with spreadsheets. And the more I listen to you, Kirsty, I must admit, the more I can feel that starting to, bubble up inside me. It's been so interesting. And I know we could talk absolutely all day. And in fact, I think I might go ahead and make a little exciting announcement, a little reveal, because I haven't done this yet. So for those of you that are listening to the podcast between now, we're in March 2024 and August 2024, you will have the opportunity to actually come and see, listen, and hear some more of Kirsty's expertise. She's very kindly going to be one of our guest speakers at the Dance Business Conference in August. So, Kirsty, you're the first speaker that I've revealed this year.
How exciting. I can't wait. I'm thrilled to be asked. I'm really looking forward to meeting your members. And, if I can help anybody on that day go away with a bit more clarity and a bit more confidence, then I shall feel really, really happy.
Yeah. And we've specifically I've given you a few kind of ideas of the types of things that I'd love you to talk about, because I know some of the things that you're going to speak about are things that currently 90% of my dance bosses don't know anything about and don't know how to do, but they're important things. And I'm excited for those, because you're not going to talk about just general finances, a bit like we have today. You're going to talk about some very specific things, but we'll keep that a secret because they've got to be there. They've got to be there to get that information. Kirsty, let's finish. It's been so fun. I've really loved it. Even though we've been talking about figures, I've still loved it, I promise.
See, my work is done. I'm spreading the word slowly but surely.
Absolutely. Let's finish with a few silly, quick fire questions, which I always love to do at the end of each podcast. So are you ready?
I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay. Favorite food?
Korean.
Korean, I say. That's very very out there, very different. Favorite pastime?
Travel.
Favorite business book, if you have one?
Oh my gosh, I've got tons. I'm reading Stephen Bartlett's Diary of a CEO, which I think is an absolute gem. I love The Big Leap. I think that's a really good one to read.
That's fine. You've given me
Profit First. That's a really good one as well. Yeah. Surprise, surprise.
Yes. Okay. Something that's on your bucket list.
Something that's on my bucket list. I would like to go and spend 12 weeks working in Seoul. I want to experience the culture. I want to have the food firsthand. I want to go and see all of the old buildings. I want to be there in cherry blossom time. It's a real, that is one of my top bucket list things to do. I'm all about travel. I want to see the whole world before I go.
Oh, amazing. So do you have a time scale for that big thing on your bucket list?
Hopefully, in 2 years' time. So I will be 50 in 2 years' time. So I'm hoping, and my birthday is April, which is around cherry blossom time. So I'm hoping that me and the husband can go. He won't be able to have 3 months off work, unfortunately. So we'll go and do a tour, and then I will stay and work and he will come home, but I'll get to immerse myself in that whole culture for a few months. So yeah, 2 years that one is. And then I'll have to think of somewhere else I need to go.
That sounds fabulous. I love the idea of that. You'll spend 3 months somewhere different every year. That would be cool.
Well, that is my 5-year plan. So the whole plan of my business is to work abroad 6 months and work in the UK 6 months. So that's what we're working towards.
Of course, we have a 5-year plan. Of course. I would expect nothing less than a 5-year personal plan.
Yeah.
If you could spend 15 minutes with somebody from history that's no longer here, who would you spend that with?
Oh my goodness. That is such a good question.
It's toughy.
There's so many. There's so many who from history. I'm going to say Emily Pankhurst, I think.
Oh, nice. Empowering woman.
Yeah.
Love it.
She broke the mold, didn't she? And she had a really hard time doing it. And I just think it would be fascinating to learn about that properly from the person who was there rather than what's been written by somebody else.
Absolutely. And maybe equally challenging question, but the last one you'll be pleased to know. If you could spend 15 minutes with someone that's still alive, who might that be and why?
Someone who's still alive. I'm going to say Dave Grohl. So no highbrow answer there. But I just love the guy. So to just spend 15 minutes in his presence, having a good old chin wag and a couple of selfies, I feel very happy about it.
I love that one. My husband loves Dave Grohl as well. So you can invite him along.
Human. Yes, I'll take your husband with me. We'll just go and have a chat with Dave for 15 minutes.
Amazing. He's a drummer from the Foo Fighters, right? For those people that don't know.
He is, yes.
Yeah. Oh, Kirsty, it's been so fun, so generous with your time, as always. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really hope that everybody that you have learnt some wonderful things from Kirsty. I'm sure you have. If you're feeling a little bit, Deborah, she's absolutely right, I'm not doing any of these things, don't let that be demoralizing. Let it be the inspiration today to get started and to start embracing numbers. And I really do think the more you look into it and the more you start to measure things, the more you'll start to enjoy the control and the new insight that gives you, so that we can create, what were your 3 Ds, Kirsty?
So data, detailed decision, and then
equals your dream.
there we go. Yeah.
What a duo. Yeah. We make such a good duo.
That's a great marketing piece there already.
Thanks so much, Kirsty. Take care.
Thank you so much for having me. Take care.
So, my friend, I want to ask you, have you been listening to some of my podcasts for a while and identified for yourself all the areas that you feel your business could be better in? Maybe you just are so busy you haven't yet mastered the working as much as you like bit. Or maybe you're just not bringing in the money, like you're struggling with the income, or it's just not enough. Well, it's time for us to have a conversation. In the show notes, there is a link to my Evolution call. If you're a dance boss and you are ready to take action, let's have a chat and let's see where I can take you.